Thank you again for your introduction. Today I'm going to present a recent research work that was published in 2019 and is entitled as Detecting and Handling Cyber Attacks via Neural Network-Based Control Algorithm for Industrial Application. The outline of the talk will be as follows. First, I will give some background on what type of cybersecurity that I am targeting and what I want to talk about exactly. Then I will jump to talk about the proposed framework that integrates the neural network detection algorithm with the advanced control technique, which is called model predictive control, that can handle a specific type of physical cyber attack and mitigate it, and then apply the control action that is calculated by the MPC to maintain and guarantee the closed loop stability and hence the process operational safety of the process. And lastly, we will apply this algorithm to a real application, which is a chemical batch process, where we can illustrate the proposed algorithm. So let me just go here. So for those who are not familiar with the cyber attacks or what they talk about today, which is the physical cyber attack, is actually physical cyber attacks can be defined as a series of computer actions that can hit chemical plants so that the plant operation will be jeopardized. And this can be realized by hitting different elements within the process control system. For example, it can hit PLCs, which is the programmable logic controllers, or sensors to play with the state measurements. So the controllers will take a false control action because they read faulty measurements. And so to emphasize the importance of this, I'm just posting here a very recent incident that hit one of the Saudi refineries back in 2017, which is published in New York Times, where a special type of, or a malicious type of cyber assault hit a chemical plant where exactly it hits a process sensors to play with the sensor measurements, so the control action will increase the pressure in some of the pipes. But luckily, the process safety and the control system was smart enough to act in a proactive fashion so that unsafe scenario will be prevented. So this scenario and many different incidents that happens, or thousand or million incidents that happens daily basis for nationwide or internationally because of these malicious attack, emphasize the importance of developing detection algorithm that can predict the occurrence of this attack and make a proactive action to prevent the impact of this attack on the plant operation. Sorry for that. So as I said before, the importance of this can be realized because it can jeopardize the plant operation and hence the process operational safety, which will damage the environment and sometimes go to the unstable production, human injury, maybe sometimes human death due to this cyber attack. So what can we do? So what we can do is to propose a novel or intelligent detection algorithm that can understand the mind of these attackers, and then this detection algorithm can be employed online, and it's integrated with control frameworks that can take benefits of the detection result of this attack and hence apply control action that can proactively maintain the closed loop stability and safety in the presence of these attacks. So physical cyber attack are it's a huge topic actually. So physical cyber attacks are of many types, but just focus on three types, which is denial of service attack and replay attacks and deception attack. Our focus today in the talk, due to the limitation of the time, we will talk about only deceptions attacks, and more specifically, it's a specific type of it. It's called min-max cyber attack that I will go in detail with it later in the slides. But just to give you a brief, give you a brief knowledge about it, is the type of attack that hits the sensors within the control system, so that it can make it read the minimum value or the maximum value of the sensor, so that the controllers wouldn't recognize these faulty measurement, and hence apply control action based on these faulty measurement. And this may lead to unsafe scenario and some to explosions if these attack were not detected. Of course, in the literature and in industry, different detection algorithms have been proposed to overcome this attack. And basically, we talk about model-based one, like the cumulative sum statistic detection algorithm. And sometimes we talk about probabilistic-based one, like the Bayesian detection and binary hypothesis. However, these detection algorithms were successful in real-time implementation, but with numerous amount of the technological advances of abilities and facilities for the attacker to make them know about these model-based detection algorithms and the probabilistic ones as well, make it hard for the industrial plants operators and decision makers to cope with this intelligence of the attackers. So one could think of a more generalized detection algorithm that can be applied online and can detect a new type of attack so that we can cope with the attacker thinking. So motivated by this consideration, we'll talk today about a specific type of integration of a machine learning based classification algorithm that can be integrated with an advanced control technique that is based on optimization framework that work together, maintain the closed loop stability and process operational safety in the presence of these cyber attacks. And I will go in more details about how we can do that, but without bothering you with the technical stuff of the element. So, of course, before we go dig deep in the analysis of this, for those who are not familiar, we should give some preliminaries about what class of system that we are talking about, and to what extent our limitation go to. So the class of system is actually a linear or differential equations that can be written in this format, where f is the vector function of the process and g is input, where u is the input, and g of x is just a function of the states that couple the input with the states, and w demonstrate, or w here it's denote or capture the mismatch between the process model that we use here and the actual model of the process that we don't know exactly. So we have to put a notion that can capture this uncertainty. So U is the manipulated input that we control. Of course, it's constrained due to the physical constraint, the actuator, because our valves and our pump are constrained physically, because we cannot open the valve, for example, more than 100%. We cannot close it less than 0%. So the most important assumption that we have to emphasize here for this framework is as follows. We assume that the vector function f, g, and are smooth function that can help us to define a stability control law. The measurement, here we assume that we have an access to the measurement of the process. So we don't assume here that we don't have an access to the measurement. In such a case, then we will need an observer that can observe the states. We assume also that the origin is the equilibrium point of the process. And lastly, we assume the existence of a control law, which is a Lyapunov-based one, that can make the energy of the process negative, which is the lead derivative of the Lyapunov function with respect to the process model is negative. So here in this slide, we will take maybe 1 minute to talk about the advanced control technique model control. As the name suggests, the model-based control uses a model of the process in order to predict the future of the evolution of the process state, so better control action can be taken. MPC is an optimization control paradigm where the cost function here is a quadratic cost function that tries to penalize the deviation of the state and the input from their corresponding set points. Here in the constraint, we have a process model, as you can see, to predict the evolution of the states so we can have a better action. As a life, for any one of us, like if we predict what we can do in the future, then we can prevent unsafe scenario, then we can plan ahead, then we can take a better action with the same concept, with the same sense happening in industry and in the control system. So we predict the evolution of the state, then better control action can be taken using this optimization algorithm. So this indicates that the initial state of the process is actually the major state of from the plant, and this is the place where the cyber attack affects the controllers, as you can see, because this major state comes from the sensor. So if the sensor was tampered or played with from the attacker, then the whole control actions will be affected. Then we have the input constraint due to the physical constraint in the actuator, as we said before. You can see here, excuse me. As you can see here, the red colored and the blue colored constraints are defined as stability constraint, where the first one tries to decrease the energy of the system in a degree that is as minimum as the degree offered by the control law 5x. And here we maintain that if the state enters stability region omega rho min, then we want to make sure that we are inside it for the rest of the time. So this is just a brief definition, and you can see here in the schematic figure that the big ellipse is the stability region, or what we call the stability region is, in the other sense, is the operating region, as if the plant is allowed to operate in a region where the states can vary within this big ellipse. However, we want to make sure that the state go to a certain small neighborhood of the origin, which is XS in this case. And that's why we apply the MPC, because most of the cases we want to operate around a certain steady state like XS. And we don't want to deviate from it because we believe this is the optimal set point that we can operate. So therefore, we want to go to it and we want to close ourselves around the region around it for the rest of the operation until a new set point comes ahead from the upper layer of the management. Sorry. So here is the slide that I promised you to talk about the specific type of deception attack that I was talking about, which is the min-max cyber attack. Min-max cyber attack is designed to tamper the sensor management. To tamper its measurement with the maximum and minimum allowable value, as you can see in this equation, which is very easy to read, even for those who are not familiar with the control system. And I carried it with you here. So X bar is the tampered or the played with measurement from the attacker. So either he set the value to the minimum value or the maximum value of the allowable value that the state can take within the stability region. Let me go back to the slide here so I can show you what I mean. So if this is the stability region, which is the big ellipse, then the maximum value that the state measurement can take is at the upper boundary, and the minimum value could be at the lower value. So what basically the attacker would do is set the value to the minimum value or the maximum value. So in order for the attacker to take such action or to attack in such sense, we have to assume that the attacker has the following knowledge. Assume that the attacker have full knowledge of the stability region, otherwise he cannot know the maximum and the minimum value of the states that can take. We assume that the attacker can get access to the sensor itself to play within its measurement. However, the process model knowledge does not have to be there for the it has not to be there for the attacker to take. So that's which is very powerful. So the attacker does not have to know the process model. He just needs to know the stability region that we operate at. Then he can go further with that. Sorry about that. So in this slide, we will talk specifically about what kind of machine learning that we are using. We're basically talking about a neural network, not a deep one. We can go with 1 or 2 or 3 hidden layers, which is more than enough in our case. We have to generate the data set that can help the neural network to classify based on the state measurement that we are under cyber attack, or we under normal operation, or we under disturbed attack. How can we do that? Basically, we can do the following. We use the process model of the system to generate 3 data sets. A set where we apply a min-max cyber attack by just playing with the measurement sensor, and then we call this class 0. Then we, in the other case, we just operate normally. There is no cyber attack and there is no disturbed operation, no Gaussian added noise, and we call that class the normal states. And then we operate the system under Gaussian noise that we added on the right-hand side of the ordinary differential equation to mimic the mismatch between the process. Why we need a third class? Why just we're not happy with 2 classes, which is under cyber attack and no cyber attack? Because sometimes white Gaussian noise are not an intended attack, and we don't want our detection algorithm to be fooled by not distinguishing between the cyber attack and the natural disturbance of the system, because then it will give us a false alarm of cyber attack that were not happening. Okay, so of course, with all you're familiar with the AI, I wouldn't go deep in talking about how a neural network works and so on. I'm not the best guy to talk about this, but you know, I hear what we mean by sigma 1, sigma 2 is the activation function that could be sigmoid, really low functions. It's absolute choice. Then we can tweak these based on the result and what kind of accuracy that you're looking for. NWIG is the weighting that you update every time you iterate. And NBI is the bias that you have. The output layer, of course, you can have different activation function, which is a softmax at the output layer to give you the decisions whether you are under which class. Okay, so this is very important in our framework, as this indicates we don't want our detection algorithm to be very reckless in deciding which class it's under to. So for example, we want to reduce the false detection alarms or the false cyber attack alarm, because these networks are not perfect and they are subject to different noises, and it cannot give you always the right thing. So I'm not sure if someone is writing in the slides. Is everything okay? I'm not sure.
No, I think we need to go out and come back again. There is something wrong here.
Yes. يعني إيش كيف الأخلاقيات جاية مع الذكاء الاصطناعي؟
Sorry, I couldn't understand what's going on.
I think someone with us got into hacked or something, hacking the system. Maybe we should just go out and come back again.
I'll say should I go log out and I link back again to the Zoom link again to avoid this?
I think so. I am waiting for the organizer to inform us, because this is not normal. It seems like a hacking process.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, and I'm talking about cyber attack, and now we have been attacked.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a challenge, Doctor.
Yes, I guess so. So let's see what happened now. So
do you want to continue?
I can continue. I have no problem. My slide is fine. So if you can, guys, read what I do here, that would be fine, because I will give you the solution of how to make them disciplined.
Let's find out. I am afraid that they will come out with something that we might not be able to share with everybody. we cannot expect what will
Okay.
happen next. So, who is in the
Okay.
mobile show with
Okay,
us,
we
please?
should.
Yeah, I think we should go out and come back again. That's my advice, Doctor.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. No problem.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir. Situation is under control. You can share the screen again.
Okay. Sorry for that. Okay. Okay, so where were we? Okay. So do you hear me now? Do you see everything clearly?
Yeah, we hear you. We see you clearly. Thank you very much. We are sorry for what happened, but it's something that we should consider when it comes to security again. Thank you, Dr. Fahad.
Yes, no problem. Okay, so I guess I was here, so and that's what I should emphasize. This talk is about physical cyber security, and as we all know that cybersecurity is of two different layers. The first layer, which is the first layer of defense, is the computerized space, which is the one that we just and we couldn't have control of. And yes, as I said before, hackers are very intelligent, are very smart. They know stuff that we don't. And when the second layer of defense is when they have access to your computer and they play with it. That's the place where your controllers, microcontroller within your computer, can make an action with. So imagine this what's just happened now happen in a large scale industry. Okay, so we have the first layer of defense, is the computer base, the PLCs and so on. If they access to it, then they have the whole plant, the physical plant. It's under their hands, and they can tweak the pumps so that explosion can happen. This is very dangerous. This have to be taken care of. So what we're talking about here is after the first layer has been hacked, what can I do as a control specialist in order to save the plant? So here, the sliding detection window is just talking about we don't want to trust fully the neural network detection algorithm based on one reading. So that's why we have a sliding window that takes several detection patient, the result based on the neural network, and then sum that up based on some weighting weighting function here with each decision. And this gamma, it will increase and get close to 1 as we approach the end of the window, because we believe later decision will be more accurate because it has more data, so it can have better decision. So then when this summed up, then we decide if DI is greater than a threshold that we set. If that is the case, then attack is confirmed, and then we take an action. If not, then attack is not confirmed, and we repeat again to go for normal operation. And I will show you now what we can do after we know that we have been attacked in the plan. So here is a schematic block diagram explains the situation. We have the process under LMBC, which is the model protective control. We activate the neural network prediction algorithm that we just showed before. Every activation sampling time, which is NA. So then, if this is the case, the attack is being detected by just one sample of result. Then we check the state if it's within the stability region or not. If not, then we shut down the system and we activate the system right away, just for security. If yes, the state is within the stability region, nothing happened yet, then we say we don't trust that sensor anymore because it has been hacked. And we use a redundant sensor that we save that is offline that can be hooked when these attacks happen. Then the proceed happen again. Then we proceed again. After multiple times, like if N8 proceeds and then DI reaches, which is the time here that I show, if after several NA and we reach this NH with this, the sliding window time, we have to check whether we are greater than the threshold. If yes, which is the multiple summation of this decision, if yes, then attack is confirmed, and we optimize control action based on the state measured from the redundant sensor, and we don't trust that sensor anymore. If no, then we optimize control action based on the current state measurement and nothing had happened, and we repeat again the process every NA time. That is basically what is all this framework is about. This schematic figure shows a scenario base of what could happen. So if we are at the initial static 0, which is the initial time, we operate nicely, beautifully, and when nothing had happened, then the attacks start to hack our system at this point of time. Then attack occurs at this time. Then we confirm that the attack is happening because of the sliding window that I just said before, because we cannot just say from the beginning, from here, that attack is happening. It will take time, and hopefully this time will be very small time that cannot be enough to damage the system. Then the LMBC will computer control action that drive the closed loop state back to the safe region at what we call the small neighborhood around the origin. So now we have just illustrate, or we have just introduce the framework, the theoretical setup, the implementation strategy, and so on. It's better always with theory to bring an example where you can show a case that how can this happen and how can this can be treated in real-time implementation. And that's what we are about to say. So in this case, we have a chemical process, basically a process that can take a reactant A, you can consider any kind of reactant that you know of, and it transform to a reactant B based on some thermal energy. We just put the reactor here, sorry, the reactant here, and then we have the reactor heat up to transform that A into B, basically. So for this simple mechanism, it's can be described the following nonlinear ordinary differential equations, where C, A, and T are the concentration of the material, and T capital is the temperature of the reactor. F is the flow rate, V is the volume, CA0 is the inlet concentration, C is the concentration of the reactant, R is the gas constants, and delta H is the enthalpy. So the objective function is we want to operate the CSTR at the equilibrium blood that we believe is the best optimal point that we can operate at, which is 0.57 kilomole per cubic meter and 395 Kelvin. And we want to maintain this within that stability region. So that is the objective function. As we said before, it's a quadratic cost function that penalizes the deviation of the process state from this point. Of course, we all know that every state is constrained because of the thermodynamics and because of the physical constraint, the actuators. It's constrained as follow, as you can see here. So we have to make, we have to account and take these constraints into account when we compute control action. In other words, we don't want to compute control action based on the optimization for values that exceed the maximum value that the input can take. So this two figures just to show is a real show for you about how tampering the sensor can lead to unstable operation and can take you outside the stability region, and this can lead to unsafe scenario. So what we did here is we consider a min-max cyber attack that can tamper the temperature, which is this, the temperature only, okay? So we tamper the temperature to its minimum value, as you can see. If this is our stability region, so the ellipses here is tilted, which is fine because different system, every different system have different operating region, as we all know. So what we did here is the attacker set the value of the temperature as the minimum value it can take. As you can, the red trajectory here, it's the attacker setting the temperature. While in reality, the real state is increasing rapidly, which is the temperature, because the control action thinking that we are at lower temperature. So we want to increase the temperature in order to have better production rate. So that's why the state is going out the stability, because the controller is increasing the temperature because it thinks that the state is actually at its lower point. So we add the cyber attack at 0.67 minutes, and at 0.35 minutes from the beginning of the operation, we had left the stability region. To prevent this, we did the following. We collected data set that is 3,000 time series balanced data set. That is balanced, which means 1,000 under normal operation state measurement, 1,000 under cyber attack state values, and 1,000 state value under disturbed attack, which is under white Gaussian noise. We trained the neural network for 70% of this whole balanced data set. We validate based on 15%, and we test on 15%. As you can see here, we have implemented early stopping criteria that can avoid overfitting when validation accuracy gets lower than training accuracy. We stop at that point, and we believe this is the best model that we can use, and so on. In the right schematic, in the right plot here, we just show a case where as you increase the data set by letting the state measurement comes more and more and more, you get an average better accuracy of your model, as you can see, because the more data you get by elapsing on time forward, you will have more data about what's going on, and then we can capture the model that has the best average accuracy, and we use it online. All of what we are doing here in this slide is offline. We haven't yet implemented the neural network. After we finish with this offline training, and we believe this is the best neural network that can be used for detection online, then we implement it in real-time implementation. So as you can see here, we set the LMBC for sampling time of 10 to the minus 3 minutes. The final time is 1 minute. The activation detection time is 5 sampling time. And the sliding window is 3 times of the activation window. And the threshold of the detection decision is 1.6. We incorporate the min-max cyber attack at 0.092 minutes, as you can see here in the red line. And it was detected at 0.115. It's actually after 3 sampling time, which is a phenomenal performance for just a simulation's sake. So as you can see here, we implement 2 implementation.
Hello? Sir, please share your screen, sir.
Yes, I hear you.
We can't see your.
What's that?
We can't see your screen, sir. Please share your screen.
Oh, I thought it's still okay. You just lost it for now, or?
No. You can share your screen, sir.
Oh, let me. I'm sharing the screen actually.
Yes.
Oh,
Now.
Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
It's a bit. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so did you guys miss anything before this slide? Should I go back, or you're good? Hello? Okay.
Sir, after you come
Should I
back,
continue?
there was no slides.
Say that again.
Sir, after you rejoin, there was no slides, sir.
Okay, so can you see my slides now?
Yes, sir. Now we can see your slide.
So how about this slide? Did you see this slide before? I explained this before. Did you see this before?
No, sir, we don't see.
Okay.
You are putting conversation in the chats.
Okay, no problem. So I will just go through them very fast. This is just a chemical process example that was intended to be used to demonstrate the framework that we propose, which is the MPC, which is the advanced control technique, with the neural network detection algorithm. So the objective function was to go to this set points to operate at, and we want to maintain it within that point. Here in this slide, these 2 figures shows that when we tamper the state measurement by letting the temperature reading it's at minimum value, the actual state, which is the blue curve, it exceeds its value and going outside the stability region because the control action is reading a false measurement. This is just to emphasize the importance of detecting these kind of cyber attack. In this slide, I'm just showing how to train the neural network to come up with a model that can use a real-time implementation. We have a 3,000 time series data, where 1,000 of these data is based on normal operation, 1,000 under cyber attack, 1,000 under the Gaussian added noise. So it's balanced data. 70% of this data is for training, 15% for validation, and 15% for testing. In this slide, we show that the real-time implementation. We inject the cyber attack at 0.092 minute from the beginning of the operating time, and we were able to detect the attack at 0.115 minute. This is great because we have been detecting that in 3 sampling time from the beginning of the attack. So the green curve and the blue curve just show you how it's very important to check while the attack is confirmed is whether you stay inside the stability region or not. It's not enough to just rely on the neural network. You have to have a checker kind of traffic point of view that can check for you if the attack is confirmed. Please check for me if the state is within the stability region or not. So the green region shows that with the check of the stability region, the state were maintained within the stability region. If you don't check and just rely on the neural network, sometimes you will get out of the stability region, as in this zoom box that is zooming on this point, show you that the blue curve will slightly went outside the stability region. Okay, and this is the last 3 slides of the talk. So just want to emphasize the importance of the machine learning detection algorithm, how great they are. So this is a new type of cyber attack. It's not min-max cyber attack. It's called surge cyber attack. It's very well known in the academia and is very well known in the industry. The surge cyber attack is as follows. The attacker have a knowledge of the cumulative sum of the model-based detection algorithm. So it intelligently have this kind of attack mechanism where it can beat up the detection algorithm. So basically that's what's going on. So the attacker knows the threshold. So based on the threshold of STH, he put the minimum value of the states. And if it's not, he will put this value, which is exactly equal to the identifier of the threshold of the detection mechanism. So there is no way that the real system can know there is an attack, because the attacker knows the model that is being used to detect the attack. So in this case, as you can see in the blue, in the right figure, that the attack happened, but it went undetected. That's the whole situation. How can we avoid this? How can we treat this? What we did is the following. We used that neural network detection algorithm that was trained only on the min-max cyber attack. It was not trained on the surge cyber attack. And guess what? It was luckily that it was able to detect the attack after 3 sampling time with an accuracy of 89%, even though it was not trained on this kind of attack, but it was able to detect it. Why is that? Why is this is the case? Because the surge cyber attack mechanism is very close to the min-max cyber attack. So it recognized it, even though it was not trained on it. Okay, so lastly, this is the place where I can summarize and conclude my talk. We have a 2-layer of cyber attack. Cyber attack that can hit the computer software, where it can hit the motherboard, it can hit the hardware and everything. It can damage your computer, it can access your camera, it can access your hardware, your files. And that's what we don't talk about it in this presentation. What we talk about is the second layer of cybersecurity. If we assume that the attacker has access to the first layer of defense, and now he has the whole plant ahead of him or her. So what can we do as a control scientist, and in order to suppress the impact of this attacker? So what we suggest is to implement a novel control technique with the machine learning detection algorithm that can read the state measurement and can know in a prior what kind of attack is happening, and then let the control scheme know that the attack is happening in a proactive fashion, so it implements control action to avoid the unsafe scenario. The advantage of this framework is we can detect cyber attack without the knowledge of the process model. That's a very great point of view. The second thing, it can detect a new cyber attack that was not trained during the training process, as we saw before. The disadvantage, or I would call it the shortcomings of this framework, is as follows. Good performance cannot be guaranteed because we don't have a mathematical solid foundation of how a neural network can be robust against this attack and against classifying this kind of attack. The second thing is very hard to come up with the more appropriate neural network detection algorithm because of the many factors that play with it during how many number of hidden layers, what kind of activation function you use, the weighting function updates, what kind of data, and so on and so on. So, and here will I stop, and I'm happy to listen to your question. I was so honored to be here, and I wish my country a very happy and peaceful years to come. And I am so happy to be Saudi. Thank you so much, guys.